home to 34-year-old mother of three. Joleen Cummings described as fun and always up for something social. Her friends said she was simply a kind, loyal, and caring person. She loved being a mother and called her children her proudest achievement after giving birth to her daughter. Sadly, her relationship broke down and she decided she wanted a change of scenery. Joleen started working at Tangle Hair Salon in Yulee, Florida, and settled right in. The regulars loved her, and her boss, Jim, said she was great with clients. She could talk to anyone. She then met her husband, Joleen Cummings, and the pair had 2 boys. Her life was suddenly busier than ever, but in 2017 she and her husband Jason had agreed to part ways and separate, working on a custody plan together. She briefly had a relationship with a man who was also called Jason, but that too had come to an end after a string of arguments. Her friends said it was a shame. She was a great person, and sadly her relationships just weren't working out, but Joleen took everything in her stride. She was now focused on her children and career. She was looking for a fresh start and new beginnings. May 12, 2018. It was business as usual for Joleen. She headed into a fully booked day at Tangle's. She was already looking forward to clocking off at 5 p.m. and getting ready for the next day. Not only was it her birthday, it coincided with Mother's Day too, and she was ready to spend all day with her children and catch up with everyone's birthday wishes. She and her children would spend the day making a gift for her own mom, Anne, and having a real family day the following morning. However, she was supposed to meet with her ex-husband to get their children, but she never turned up. Saturday was her busiest day. She was back-to-back, and maybe she just overslept. But a day later, with still no word from Joleen and reported her missing, her car was also missing. Her bank records showed no activity, and her phone was just going to voicemail. Her boss, Jim, said that Joleen loved her kids more than anything, and there wasn't a chance she would have disappeared without something being really wrong. We're all very worried. It's just so out of character for her to disappear. Her life was those children, and I refuse to believe she just took off, he said. Nassau County, the sheriff's office wants to hear from anyone who went to the Tangle Salon in Fernandina Beach last Saturday. They're looking for information into the disappearance of a mother who disappeared last Sunday. Joleen Cummings was supposed to pick up her 3 kids on Mother's Day, but she never arrived today. Neighbors banded together in Hilliard to search for her. Yeah, and friends are telling me this just doesn't sound like her to disappear on Mother's Day without her 3 kids. Now friends say this is where she works, right here, Tangle's Hair Salon, and this is where deputies say she was last seen leaving here on Saturday night, around 5. Deputies say she may be driving a 2006 beige Ford Expedition with the Florida-Dallas plate number 035 KBQ. A client also tells me she got her hair done on Friday by Cummings and she seemed fine, and she even talked about painting and crafting with her kids on Mother's Day. And I just spoke to Cummings' boss here just a couple of minutes ago, and he says they are very worried. Something is just not right. We know there's somebody out there that knows where she's at, and will do the right thing and give us a call so we can let her come home to her family down the street. Neighbors like Lexi are also on the lookout for the young mother. We're all close-knit small town, so if something happens, you hear about it as soon as it happens. The first 2 people they wanted to speak to were her ex-husband Jason C. and her on-off boyfriend, Jason G. Jason C. was very worried and cooperative, and he came down to the station right away. He said even if things had been testing for them as they navigated the split, his family was his priority, and he respected her a lot. Wouldn't that's my kid, Tom. What I do take seriously is he had concerns about Jason G. calling him a junkie and saying he had heard bad things about the company he kept. He told police they could search whatever they wanted, his house, his phone, his car. He had absolutely nothing to hide with a strong alibi and a look around his place. They were confident he was not involved when it came to locating Jason G. However, this was more difficult. One of Joleen's neighbors said that on May 9th, just 3 days before she went missing, She had heard things smashing and Joleen shouting at her kids to shut the bedroom door. Alarm bells had gone off, and she called the police. But once Jason G. heard the officers coming, he bolted. This was a big lead, and they realized he was actually wanted on an outstanding warrant anyway. Finally, deputies found Jason G. hiding under some cardboard boxes inside a house, and he was arrested for probation violations. He admitted they were involved in an argument after he showed up, uninvited, asking to stay when she told him no. He got aggressive and started slamming things. Police commented on the scratches and marks on his arm, but he said they had come from playing with his dog. He said he would let them search what they wanted, and he would take a polygraph as well. However, he had now lost his phone and couldn't tell them where he'd been over the last few days and therefore could not give them an alibi. When police pointed out how this all looked to them, he said he wanted a layer. He was named as a person of interest in her disappearance just a couple of hours earlier. Deputies arrested Cummings' ex-boyfriend Jason G., who had a warrant out for a probation violation, but deputies say he is not talking. Investigators say he was found near a wooded area in Hillard where deputies were searching Monday night after receiving a tip. They say G and several others are persons of interest in the disappearance. Frustratingly, tips with few and far between, with only a few coming in and none that led to anything. There were just so many gaps in this story. But on May 16th, investigators got their first break when they found Joleen's Ford SUV parked in a Home Depot parking lot about 2 miles away from her salon, so security footage from the area showed it being parked up at 1:15 a.m. several hours after Joleen would have finished her shift. Once the car was parked up, figure dressed all in black ran away after following the shadowy figure from camera to camera. They finally got Avery clear image. A woman in all black had walked into a gas station a few minutes later, where she asked to borrow a phone to call for a cab. She only stayed for a few minutes before leaving. It was obvious that she had been driving Joleen's car, so why park it up and leave if the intent was to steal? If the person that served her that night told the detectives, it was one of the strangest conversations he'd ever had. She had spent a lot of time talking about what meth does to your body and sharing details about her night drinking with people. She talked and talked and talked before jumping into her cab. "I'm Detective Rose with the sheriff's office. Hello. I needed to speak to you about, someone that you had contact with the other night. You're not in trouble for nothing." "Oh, okay. Don't even know. Can we sit down for a second, okay? There was a female that came into the store the other night right here." "Yes, and y'all sat there and talked for a little bit on video." "Yeah, she had me call her a taxi. She had you call Hera? Taxi. Can you tell me what your conversation was with her?" She said something about how she was out with a couple of friends, drinking, and one of the friends' ex-boyfriends came around. There'd been some kind of problem. She didn't go into detail for it much after that, and to be honest, I don't even know how she got to the store because she had me call her a taxi. And then what? 10-15 minutes later, she was gone. The taxi came and picked her up, took her said somewhere to like a Plant Fitness. Okay, that was around us. She went into this really weird conversation about what meth does to your body. Literally, this is what most of our conversation was about, but meth due to... Okay, it was really weird. While investigators continued to look into these cameras, a thorough look over the salon painted a very bleak picture. There were huge pools of blood everywhere, and even though there had been an attempt to clean it up, there was no hiding this from Thuliminol. There was no other conclusion they could draw. Joleen was now dead, and she had been killed in this salon. They were now happy to rule out Jason G. as well, and a random break-in, because it just didn't make any sense. The manager of the salon, Jim, showed the police work schedule, and the last person to have been working with Joleen was another stylist called Jennifer Cyber. When investigators arrived to speak with Jennifer, she wasn't there despite being set to open that day. Jim called Jennifer just as she was pulling into the parking lot. She took one look at the police and drove back out. She then told Jim she was quitting. They'd never see her again, and she wanted her final paycheck. Detectives showed everyone in the cell on the CCTV footage from the gas, and without missing a beat, they said, absolutely it was Jennifer. Except she did have different hair. Jim gave them her address, but the address didn't even exist, and they had no idea where Jennifer now was. She was returning. No phone calls. Was the last person to see Joleen. Was giving out fake addresses and had been seen parking Jolene's car.